Well, good morning, everybody. I want to spend just a moment at the beginning of this video talking about the redesign of my website. Again, if you don't want to watch this, just go to where you start to see me talk about some satellite data and you'll get ahead of this. But for those of you that use the site, I know there's about 40,000 of you that are pretty active users of this. So I just want to give you a quick kind of update on what I did, all right? I didn't like the new style. I'm sorry, it was not working for me. It was making me very inefficient. So I redesigned the old style here, but it's got some new functionality that I hope you're really going to be able to use. First of all, make sure you use the side menu. This is the quick hits page. I just call it that because it's got kind of the most popular things on it. You can either navigate by scrolling. I know that's kind of like 1990s HTML, but it's very functional and allows me to display the data very clearly. Or you can just use the side menu like, hey, I just need to see the next 7-day maximum temps. You can get them. And all of the content that I've got here, I think is readily available and quickly accessible. But you have now a couple of other tools that I've had in certain places on the old site. I'm going to add one more to this very soon, a mobile-friendly one. But if you're curious, like, hey, I just want to search up my location here. I don't know, let's go Indianapolis. You start typing it in. It'll give you the options here. Choose it, goes into the box, click Submit, and it goes and runs your forecast for you. So this is the best viewed on a computer. If you are on your phone, I'll be uploading the mobile version of this very, very soon, so you can use that. But you have all the same content that I've had on here for a long time, including all of the time series at the bottom. Zip code, same thing. These are just a bunch of zip codes I tried. I don't know, 90210, right? When I was a kid, there was some show about LA. So we can just test it. I tested it last night, and there you go. You just get all your forecast content one of those two ways. Okay, from here, you'll notice that there are 5 links right down here. The current weather always takes you back to the main site. Video analysis, see my latest YouTube videos will show up here. I've got my ag weather Twitter feed going over here, although I'm not sure why it's not loading some new tweets I made this morning. We'll figure that out soon enough. Regional content. This is going to be what's going to change a lot. Right now, I just have my CONUS maps. So continental United States, you'll see all the other regions very, very soon. When you click on this, though, you'll see every model I've got. Now, what variable you want, just pick it over here, okay? So just come over here and look at these things. And now, just so you see this, like, I really want to look at precipitation. Click on accumulated precip. Look, you've got 8 different models to view now. Got them all up here. They're all the same projections. Everything is uniform. It's all running smoothly on the new server. You have your precip anomaly map, whatever you want. It's all on this. After that, I just want to show you the historical weather tab. When you go here, you're going to be taken to the U.S., the CONUS maps. We've got recent precipitation from all of our different sources. And then you have down at the bottom here, you've got temperatures. And you can even see further down, we've got seasonal snowfall, which these will start updating again once we get past September 30th. And the prism maps I make for the GDDs and SDDs. So those are all available too. What I'm still building right now is the additional weather resources. I have just 1,000 links, and I'm going to get them nicely organized, and so you can view them here very, very easily. Here's the thing I'm most excited about on this site. Let's go back to the main page. I'm just going to click on this and do an inspection of it, and I can force it to look like it's going to look on my phone. So now you can open this on your phone and use this little drop-down menu and see all of your typical links. So like, I just need to see the 10-day global. Well, that'll come up here. You can even use the fill-in boxes for your zip code or your city to use as well. So now this site will function on a mobile phone. That took a long time to get the HTML and CSS right, but it's there. So I just wanted to make you aware of this. I know some of you like that new site. I apologize. It was not working for me, and it was very difficult to develop, and it was not working well on other devices. So I just went back and redesigned an original view, and here it is. So please make use of it, and I hope it's a valuable asset to you. So we're going to add to it over the next several weeks. We're going to keep adding new stuff to it, and hopefully it's a good resource. Okay, from there, let's get back into the weather here. Take a look at the sunrise this morning. We've got a lot of wildfire smoke. Here's some cloud cover, some precip moving through the Midwest, but the main show is going to be down here with what will soon be Hurricane Francine. Now, I want to show you that smoke yesterday because as you just watch the end of the day here, the wildfire smoke from the western wildfires just spread throughout Montana, southern Canada, and then a broad section here of the plains, Midwest, all the way over to the Mid-Atlantic. And we talked a lot about those wildfires just yesterday, looking at where that smoke was going to go. But of course, I think most of the big story this week is going to come from two different events. The first is going to be from Francine. The second is going to be another deep low cutting into the Pacific Northwest. But let's get a good look at Francine this morning. Francine right now, you would not call this overly organized. In other words, this is not a symmetric system. It's clearly got a few different areas of dry air intrusion here and some deep convection that's out ahead of it. And as a result, this is not, this doesn't look like your characteristic rapidly intensifying system. So that's going to limit, I think, the upper end of the strength of this system, which I think is going to be very important for a lot of folks along the Gulf Coast and up through the Mississippi Valley. I'm going to just back this out and just take a broader look at the whole region, if you don't mind. So now you can see the main circulation here. Look at the deeper convection off to the side. That's an indication that this system is not it's not consolidated in a deep low without shear. There is some that's out ahead of it, and that's what we're seeing in this area. So we're going to watch here, because yesterday we even saw a little bit of an eye pop out right there temporarily. But this will be key for the upcoming forecast of where this is going to go. So early this morning, we do have we have surf warnings, we have storm surge warnings. That would be this color right in through here. We've got the tropical storm warning, coastal flood warnings, hurricane warnings. We have the typical mix that we get when there's a stronger system coming through. In the west, we're still dealing with red flag warnings, air quality issues, as you can see here. We'll take a look at those temperatures in a few moments. But the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, which is what I was kind of waiting on to start this video this morning, we can see 70% chance on the systems way out in the open Atlantic, 40% on this one. And then in Francine, if we just take a look at the warning cone here from the National Hurricane Center, it looks like some point on Wednesday afternoon, Francine will make landfall at hurricane strength. We'll take a look at how strong it is in a few moments, and literally go right along the Mississippi River clear to the Boot Heel of Missouri. That seems to be where the center is likely going to go. It may maintain tropical storm strength even as far north as, this part of Mississippi before the winds calm down a bit, get below that 39 mile an hour threshold where we consider it a depression. But we need to look at the winds and also the precipitation along its track. So let's go ahead and run the from Tomer Berg's page here, great website. Let's just look at the ensemble tracks and again, take a look at where the spread is along the Louisiana coast. I was a bit worried yesterday, given the drier air that's in Texas, how much we're going to get an intrusion on the west side of this, eating the storm system away here, if we're going to see maybe more of the heavier rains farther to the east. And the models did trend a little bit that way, but overall, we see the cluster pretty closely at, hitting this part of Louisiana. This would be out there middle of the afternoon on September the 11th. As we continue to go forward, the track just runs right along the Mississippi River and eventually gets up here by the time we get up to the 13th into southern Illinois, western Kentucky, Tennessee, parts of Arkansas, Missouri, and in Indiana as well. So the map kind of cuts off there, but I do want to show you this. Where this goes afterward, the operational European drops it right back down. This is very interesting. At least I think that colors the operational Euro. I'll have to look a little closer here in a few moments. But maybe the track density is a little bit more informative. So this is just looking out there at where we expect the system to be moving over the coming days, and the remnants of this will make it pretty far north into parts of the Mid-South, even into the Midwest and Ohio River Valley. Now, the questions on strength. I'm going to look at some model forecasts, and I'm just going to confess to you, while I have studied hurricanes in depth and been forecasting them for years, I will never claim to be a hurricane expert. They are a challenging system type to forecast. I'm much better at forecasting like crisp fall days. But what you've got here is the models projecting maybe Cat 1 approaching Cat 2. If Francine develops a very deep core of central convection as it approaches the Louisiana coastline, it could rapidly intensify because the waters are certainly warm enough there for it to do that. But I wanted to see, the latest forecast for the, for the sustained wind speeds here. I do expect for there to be 100-mile-an-hour winds as it approaches. So let's go ahead and look at the winds. These are color-coded for speed, and you have the arrows denoting the direction. So just some of the new maps you'll have access to on the site. So we're just playing this out. You can see the time right here. This is 1 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon Central Time. That looks to be about the time it makes landfall. And then as we play through Thursday morning at 7 a.m., going out here to 7 p.m. on Thursday. The remnants of this by early Friday morning could be in Arkansas and in Missouri. Now, there's two other areas I want you to watch very carefully. There's another low that's coming through here, and take a look at these strong winds that are expected, by Thursday night to Friday, getting into the weekend in the plains. And I've got my eye on something going off the Carolina coast that we need to be discussing as well. Because as we play this forward, this is now getting into Saturday and Sunday. Watch the low curl up right here. This is Sunday morning, getting into Sunday afternoon, all the way to Monday morning now. The latest European model attempts to develop a tropical system just off of the Carolina coast. And remember, there is a stalled out boundary in this area. That is what's initiating convection over time. And I don't know, we need to watch this carefully, even though the National Hurricane Center, if you go back here, didn't have anything in their latest update. So I will be tuned into this site all day long to see if they change anything about this particular area as we go forward. Let's now look at cumulative wind speeds so we can add these up and just see what the cumulative winds look like. And we're going to take a closer look down there in Louisiana, Mississippi in a few moments, but that's a 7-day animation. So we could get gusts from here in Nevada where we've got the red flag warnings easily over 40. And then as this system kind of emerges here, we got several areas that could pick up, over 40 mile an hour wind gusts, possibly even higher. Notice this though, something is here in the model and we cannot ignore it until we start to see a little bit better. But if I zoom in to kind of down there in the kind of southeast, we can pick up both. And just take note that we'll get 40 to 50 mile an hour gusts pretty easily into this part of Louisiana and Mississippi, with the potential for over 100 mile an hour gusts just off the coast based on the current model forecasts. Now back to this system over here, I just want to point out that even in the European ensemble, it's trying to pick up on that. And remember, this is after this weekend, and there it is. It's trying to pick up something here, but overall the likelihood of development is pretty low. So it seems to be just the outlying, European high-res model this morning that grabbed it. We will be watching, the Atlantic as we go forward. Of course, this gets us about 8 days past the peak of the season here, so we still have the whole second half to go, and looks to be quite active as we go forward. All right, upper level height. So I've got my own maps now. I normally use weather bells, but I've regenerated these so that they're all same projection, same view. And I hope you're able to use this, because remember, if you go back to the main page and go to regional content, click on CONUS, you can see the 500 millibar height anomalies from 5 different models. You can compare them. So if you're trying to up your weather nerd status, get used to reading these in Jetstream maps. That's where we always begin our forecasts. Okay, so I'm going to take you to the artificial intelligence, because we were going to watch the interplay between this trough and where Francine was going to go. So this trough digs. It's going to be very windy, and it's also going to give us the chances for heavy rain into this region that extends into the Canadian prairie. There it goes. And then as we play this forward, watch the next trough that digs in. Oh, by the way, I need to add my provinces in here. I apologize, Canadians. I'll get those added so that they show up on the map next time it runs. Okay, notice we're out here to the weekend already. Another deep trough in the west. Remember, that has been a symptom of this pattern for a while. And at that time, we kind of get this sense of a couple of troughs, broader ridge, and something's just underneath here. And it's starting to show up in the 500 millibar heights. So long story short, we've got a lot of activity sending at least 2 troughs in the next 10 days here, with low pressure developing off the southeast coast as well during this. And we're going to look at the resulting precipitation patterns of that in a few moments. The AI, once we get out there pretty far to the end of September, did for a moment try to go with a little bit of a high over low look across the west coast, which would drop a lot of cold air about September 21st, 22nd, 23rd into the Great Lakes. This is just, way out there in the model forecasts, so we're going to have to just take that with a grain of salt. But let's see how this all shakes down in terms of total precip. So thank you for everyone that gave me the comments on the coloring. It was overwhelming that you wanted me to go over to yellow, so I'll get that kind of implemented here very soon for these places where it's kind of hard to read the numbers. But this is the WPC forecast for 7 days, 1, 2, and 3. This is the national blend of models next 7 days. This would be the artificial intelligence next 7 days. And again, tip of the cap to the AI model for picking up on this. It is also by far the most aggressive at making it so wet down here across the Louisiana, just extremely wet in the AI model. This would be the latest from the ECMWF. And so we've now got pockets in the ECMWF that are just as wet as the AI, but the potential here for some exceptionally heavy rains out of this morning's model run. And this is the GFS. Now the GFS is a bit more smooth on the precip. It does have a pocket in Louisiana picking up over 7 to 10 inches of rain. I think there's going to be a spot that gets over a foot of rain. And as we talked about yesterday, this area in the last couple of weeks has seen pockets of 7 to 10 inches of rain already. But the drought that's been along the Mississippi River, the drought that's in the southeast, this is kind of a drought-busting situation overall. Okay, let's go ahead and have a look now at some of the model forecast. High-res NAM first. As we play this forward, we're going to watch the circulation work its way right here toward Louisiana as light showers try to move through this part of the upper Midwest, and the next deep low comes into the northwest. Now watch what that deep low in the northwest does on Wednesday afternoon and evening right here. So when most of the country is paying attention to where Francine is coming on board, just there's this broad trough, and there could be some intense convection here, some deeper storms, and the potential for some locally very heavy rain and very strong winds with this system coming through. We then watch Francine go through parts of Mississippi. This would be Thursday morning into Arkansas, western Tennessee, and Kentucky. And this model runs out here at 60 hours, taking us to Thursday midday. So we've got our 2 deep lows, one tropical, one extratropical, and we're going to have to pick it up with the European model to see where they go from there. So this is played out kind of in a similar cadence. There we go. Here we are getting into Friday and Saturday. First low goes through Saskatchewan. The remnants sit here. Now watch the Carolina coast. There seems to just be lingering storms along the Mississippi, and then something just curls up right here that's going to get, I need to give a lot more of my attention to. So this is now Monday night playing out to Tuesday, and that low is expected to curl up and go toward the mid-Atlantic. Meanwhile, we had another system and our third one coming in like this along the west coast. And so this pattern is unblocked and it's open and it's moving. And if we look at those probability maps, here's the best chance at an inch over the next 10 days. Probability of an inch over the next 10 days. So 2 systems here, a third one eventually coming down like this. We have Francine, we have whatever is going to be sitting off the coast here, and that seems to be the mainstay of it. So 5 different areas to be watching, I guess. Let's go ahead and step this up. We should get a new model run in here, yeah. Let's go back so I can give you a 10-day map. There it is. That's a 10-day probability of 2 inches. And this is the 10-day probability of 4. And if we just kind of take a quick moment to zoom in here into the southeast, this is the probability of 8. So right here is where the highest chances are, and also along this part of the Gulf Coast of Florida and Alabama. So we're going to watch that carefully. Let's go back to 2 just so we can see the extent of that 2-inch risk area. All right, week 2. We've got our model spread across the top here. This is on the main page. Just come down again to 8, day through 14 Precipitation. And it's interesting. There's that AI doing something different than the other models. The other models are wet, 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 very consistent. But there's something here that we have to pay attention to. And if you're curious why the AI looks like that, remember, you now have access to its forecast. So you can play the artificial intelligence precip intensity maps. And I want to see what's going on right here. Now, notice it's a bit smoother. That's because the resolution of this is pretty coarse. But it's got something next Wednesday, Thursday. That's out in there into week 2 going on right here as well. That's the same thing that high-res picked up on as well. And while systems seem to keep clearing through the midsection of the country with the AI, keep an eye on this as well, okay? From there, let's talk about temperatures. Frost risk over the next 7 days. A lot of that cold air is trying to come into the west. Let's have a look at the timing of it. Here's Tuesday's highs. Getting into Wednesday, a lot of cloud cover cooling things off, trough in the northwest. There's Thursday, Friday, cloud cover, trough, pinched in between, a lot of heat. Saturday into Sunday and Monday. This is when the next trough will be coming along the west coast. If you look at the kind of model spread here from the European across the top and the GFS on the bottom, this is just found in the week 2 temperatures part. So click right here and you'll find it. I do note that day 5 through 10 is still looking very warm around the Hudson Bay to the Great Lakes. And if we go back and look out there, day 10 through 15, that seems to be the favored pattern. I don't want to make a story about this and try to figure this out, okay? So last Friday, and I forgot to show this to you yesterday, the CPC did update their week 3, week 4 outlook. And as you can see, just like we talked about, wet in the northwest, that's very characteristic of the troughs that develop there. That's all MJO phase 5, 6 type activity. That's all being pushed along by the fate of this La Nina. The dry around the eastern Great Lakes into the northeast makes sense. The wild card's always going to be the south as we go forward, just given the hurricane activity. But I did want to compare some models here for you. When we looked at the new European forecast of La Nina, I would just say the ensemble average is somewhere around maybe minus 0.8, with the coldest down here around minus 0.1, the warmest around minus 0.3. So there's about a half degree spread in there. But the National Multi-Model Ensemble was much more aggressive on this, with its average being the dash line here, a full degree C below average. So just remember that the NMME is more aggressive on the development of La Nina. What it's looked like, though, since the beginning of this summer, it looks something like this. Let's let this reset here in a moment because it's working its way through August. You'll see the end of August, beginning of September, the emergence. But remember, at the beginning of the summer, we were talking about negative PDO and all that stuff, which all just filled in this July with all this warmth in the ocean. I did note one thing at the end of this. While La Nina is developing, look at this part of the Bering Sea. That needs our attention, and I'll make a case for it in just a few moments. First, the MJO is going to live here for a while in phases 5 and 6. And we talked about this last week. That's Gulf of Alaska trough territory. That's what that's going to be producing. So the net effect of that is more ridging. That's going to be over parts of the Great Lakes states and into the Hudson Bay. But also take note of this. While today the MJO is in phase 5, 6, we start to see some activity kind of splitting it up here for a while, with the biggest subsidence going out here into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. You can probably see that a little bit better if you look at these 3 maps. Like, for example, day 11 through 15, there's a lot of subsidence here, but there's better rising motion in key areas, suggesting that the end of this month may have more tropical activity, both in the Pacific and in the Atlantic, as we look forward. But back to this kind of bigger theme of things. You know how we've been looking at the European model, and it's looked something like this for a while. It's trying to keep this trough coming in here and ejecting like this, the ridge that opens up. And so unless you get a hurricane down here, we're not looking at much wet conditions. So, of course, right now is a prime example of what happens when a hurricane comes through. But this is mid-September to mid-October. And the models have kept looking like this, and they've also kept the temperatures, very warm in this area and cooler along the coast. So I've been thinking about what's driving the model toward this, and it takes me back to this animation and that cool water that you see here and the persistent lows that have been in place there. You see, that's a part of something called the West Pacific Oscillation. And the longer range European model is keeping that WPO pretty high. The ensemble average is above the mean for most of the next 45 days. And you might say, well, what does that even mean? Well, if you correlate September and October height field to this, when the WPO is like it is, you get deep lows that form here and big ridges of high pressure that sit below it. So the flow comes around and drives into the west coast, and you tend to get ridging in this area. Now, if all that sounds familiar, that's exactly the pattern we're in right now. I keep showing you these troughs coming in to the west coast and running up over a ridge, and so we saw the warm temperatures here. The Bermuda High staying closer to maybe the Azores or the Cape Verde Islands, but dropping the pressure off here as well is a common symptom of this pattern, which is what we're in right now. So I would say the West Pacific Oscillation, the WPO, is the more dominant factor right now, even though La Nina is starting to show some influence. So if you want to know why these maps continue to look like they do with temperature, see it, and the precipitation, with wetter here to here, with larger ridging there, keeping this drier, I think the WPO is the main culprit at this point. Now, the other part of this we're trying to figure out is how is this affecting the rest of the world? So maybe we'll start with temperatures on this. What's interesting is that wave train that's being established here is giving us a couple of ridge events across the northern hemisphere. Another one here over this part of Russia, eastern Europe, including Ukraine, where it's been quite hot, and the forecast continues to be very hot. That's also an area that's quite dry. While Ukraine and this side of eastern Russia is getting a bit wetter, Eastern Europe is getting a bit wetter, still a lot of heat and dryness in the interior. Where the MJO is currently parked, which is right over in this area, we've got tropical activity, got surges of moisture getting into Southeast Asia. But if we come back to South America as a way to finish this up today, I want to show you another day, yesterday, of just wildfire smoke spreading, very widespread here across parts of Brazil. We're still firmly in the dry season. The new high-res European model, this is its 10-day forecast. Here's the GFS. So I love having these, be able to look at them side by side. You could just see quite a bit of heavy precip across the southern Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay. But the thing that's got my attention, and we'll just keep looking at this, okay, is that when we finish September and start October, the models are attempting to return near normal rains. Through the 20th of October, that's the critical month for planting. There's still not a strong dry signal. And remember, a year ago, it was there, firmly planted in the models that it was dry. And it's just not there this year. So I'm going to keep an eye on that as we go forward. All right, have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning. Thanks.